Somehow it always feels a little bit decadent to fully relax in the afternoon. Nice salt bath to follow and giving the body what it needs, right? So there's a message coming through today for empaths and sensitive souls who have always had a really heightened conscience. And there's kind of like a resurgence of that in the moment. Like you have a really heightened sense of what's right and wrong. If you feel like you've said the wrong thing or upset somebody, it really bothers you. If you feel like something isn't resolved or done properly, it bothers you. And you've always had this as part of who you are. And you may have noticed it really strong when you were a child, right? So it's a thread that accompanies the empathic experience, these heightened feelings in the body around conscience. And recently there's a resurgence of that. There's like that sense on your shoulder that's nagging if you set an intention and you didn't quite make it, or you had an automatic reaction to something, then afterwards thought, that's not my highest, that's not who I truly am. There's a real visceral reaction in the body to that right now. But what's coming through for empaths is to look at the difference in your consciousness, in how this is coming through and what it's trying to say. And there's a sense that in the past, when we were maybe unconsciously in the wounded people-pleasing aspects of our empath, that this conscience was like it's a moral indicator, but it had been built on the conditioning and the projections and the appropriation of others. In other words, we'd taken on the conditioning of what was appropriate or not, and we felt guilty about things in response to that, whether it might upset somebody, even if their upsetness was completely irrational or narcissistic, we would still go into that response. Now, you have connected more to spirit. You've done a lot of healing. You've evolved. Your conscience is now connected to or guided by the moral compass, because you've developed that divine relationship and you have connection and you have the vision and you're connected more into your heart. And the conscience that's arising now is more of an organic guide which seeks to show you a better way. So in other words, it's not seeking to attach to any old guilts or a way in which we then tell ourselves that we're wrong or we should have done it different or we have to be different in that way. It's not attached to the moral compass of the distorted system which conditions us to serve it. So these reactions that are coming through in the body now, if there's any strong reactions, sit with how they are showing you your own personal, unique boundary around something. In other words, you may have done something in a way, said something, behaved in a way that your higher consciousness, the relationship that you've developed with yourself and the divine relationship, is seeking to show you that in that moment there was a better way to deal with it that was more in alignment with who you're becoming. So the conscience and feelings of guilt are essentially a messenger, not to guilt us or judge us or make us feel bad about ourselves, but simply to guide us in that moment. Oh, I reacted in that moment in a frequency or a way that was potentially my old self. And in this moment, in the new consciousness that I am now, there was a higher or better way. I could have gone higher with that. So watch any old reactions within you to your feelings of your conscience, and how the mind wants us to go down a road that tells us that we've done something wrong, or wants us to play out the old dynamic of guilt, shame, blame, judgment. Because really that internal compass is showing us where we can be different in certain scenarios. It's showing us where our higher nature wishes to come through. Because a lot of old patterns and reactions come from our lower nature. And what I mean by that, they come from our survival self, the part that fears expansion and the part that seeks safety in familiarity. And these responses that are happening in our body are often alerting us to where we are still in one of those patterns, sometimes unconsciously. We can't see it till we do, right? Again, so there's no judgment there. But the conscience now is speaking from the moral compass of your higher self, which you have nurtured, and is gently, although it feels intense in the body, but it's guiding as to where you're not free from the past. So try to feel the sensations with curiosity, rather than jumping into the old reaction, the wounded reaction of the empath that thinks that it's done something wrong or there's something to fix. That feels that somebody's not pleased and that you're at fault somehow, or that you can make it right and there's something that you need to do. These are all wounded reactions of the empath. So the conscience speaks from the moral compass. And that is a divine thread. It's not there to punish.